All right, game on. We have a Friday night interview that I've been looking forward to ever since I saw the movie. Well, ever since I saw that there was going to be a movie, and then I saw the movie. It was great, and so we have with us today Simon Girard. He is the assistant stunt rigging coordinator for Nobody 2. So let's bring him on. And there he is, coming to us from Toronto. Thank you so much for being with us here today to talk about Nobody 2. And I've already got it on the wall back here. I've already put and it's the signed one. Your banner has already been raised to the rafters. It's sitting just to the left and above Olympic gold medalist Chad Hedrick. So he came on with me the other day, and you're on with me. So you've been raised to the rafters. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing me out. I hope I can keep things interesting for you.
Oh my goodness, I'm sure you've got some stories. So tell us about, without try to not spoil it, but if you're going to spoil it, say spoiler alert. Tell us about making this movie and how they wanted to kind of make it different than the other one, but still exciting. You had a lot of explosions.
Yeah. It was a really great project. First of all, thanks for having me on, and shout out to Russell, because I know that he's watching. So if you have any questions, let Scott know. I really appreciated being on the show, being brought out for the show. I went out with another Canadian stunt rigger here. And I think they wanted to, I'm not privy to exactly what they were looking for in terms of how they put the movie together, but I know they wanted to keep that same sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of, a little bit of humor, but still a little bit of action. And I think it was a good balance. I watched it recently at the drive-in as well, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was, it kept that same rhythm and that same feeling, I guess. There was quite a few explosions. They bumped up the action a little bit. I know they spent a lot of time working on that elevator fight, which was pretty intricate because it was shot on a set piece, but it was an actual elevator size, which is always makes for a little bit more technical difficulties in terms of trying to choreograph that, and then of course, spoiler alert, everything that we did at Plummerville in the water park and the amusement park and stuff like that, we had quite a few explosions, and it was a really great project to be a part of. I had a blast working on it.
So where was the water park?
So
or was it different pieces were different places?
So the whole movie was done, or the better part of the movie was done in Winnipeg, in Manitoba. So which is a great town, and it's kind of medium-sized city. So it's not quite like a big New York or Chicago or Toronto or one of those kind of big city vibes. And then we did some of it north of Winnipeg, off Lake Winnipeg. So when they're driving in, and there's the arcade and that kind of stuff, that was all kind of done at the beach there, which is a beautiful beach in just an hour or so north. And then we also used an existing water park / small amusement park, and then they brought in a bunch of rides as well, and they kind of made it much bigger than it actually was. And side note on that, we shot all that water stuff in late September in Manitoba. So for those of you who are familiar with the Canadian climate or northern states, it was hit and miss. It could have been snowing, but we were very lucky, and it was relatively warm. But
the water wasn't cold. Any water you jumped in or dove in or got pushed in or exploded into would have been 50 degrees, 60 degrees.
So interestingly enough, they pumped the water, they heated the water, considerably, as much as they can. But one of the interesting things is when your ambient temperature, when the air temperature is cold and you heat the water too much, then it looks like steam, because it'll steam up. So it was interesting because you had to find the balance there with how, like, what temperature they could have the water at. But everybody that had to be in the water was they were troopers. I have to say that I myself delegated that job to one of the younger stunt riggers to be in the water to help safety Bob and the rest of the cast that had to be in the water.
So we have a question from our friend Russell. Was nobody too portrayed to National Lampoon's Vacation? Was that kind of?
Well, that's an excellent question, and I can't answer that from a creative standpoint because I don't know what's going on in the room. I'm really not that important that they ask my opinion about any of that. But how I describe the movie myself personally is kind of a John Wick meets National Lampoon's Vacation. So you kind of have some really cool action and but then it is kind of, like I said, tongue in cheek, and it wants to retain that humor. And, I think maybe we forgot to some extent that movies should just be fun. And I think that this is very much so. I don't know that it was explicitly done with that in mind, but I certainly know, and even being there, it kind of felt like I didn't work on National Lampoons. That's a little bit before my time, but I assume it was.
Mine too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. We're not that old.
Yeah. So with the rigging, what was the most interesting thing you rigged up for this particular movie?
Yeah, well, so with rigging, with stunt rigging in particular, like, our job is to make sure that the cast and the other stunt performers are safe while they're doing something. But then we also use different types of devices to help us sort of create the image of an explosion, for example, like the concussive forces. So we use pneumatic cylinders, which we call ratchets. And then we also use high-speed winches, and sometimes we use just old-fashioned horsepower, and we just have a couple of us stunt guys standing on a rope, and we motivate them with that kind of stuff. So on Nobody, it was really cool because we did get to do some interesting stuff. Again, spoiler alert, like, one of the most difficult jobs, which was actually the simplest gag, was when one of the goons at the beginning of the movie gets punted off the back of the boat, off the duck boat when they're on the tour. So what was interesting about that was that we had to have the boat moving, and we're using a practical boat, so it wasn't in studio in a tank or VFX or any of that kind of stuff. So we had to rig to this boat, which, of course, as a pontoon boat, I'm sure you've been on them in the cottage and at the cottage and stuff. They're not structurally strong. Like, they're not built. It's not like being on a freighter or a trawler or barge or anything like that. So that was very interesting because we had to do this super light system, and then we had to operate it while the boat was moving. But also, what you don't see, which is always our concern, is how we make sure that after the stunt, when he goes into the water, he's still attached to a line. So then we have to bring him back up. We have to make sure, and the boat's still moving, albeit at a slow speed, but it is still moving through the Grand River in Winnipeg. So that was kind of technically like an interesting one. But my favorite one, which unfortunately I have to say wasn't as nicely edited as I would have liked, which was when they're at the cabin in the middle of the night, and Daniel Bernhardt's character, Cartouche, is walking, and his soldiers disappear. And we did a huge drag of about 30-40 feet down through the bush and stuff with one guy. And for that, we were using a high-speed winch. And the other one, which we refer to as a pig snare, which is when we grab the ankle and we fly the guy up. that we also did that gag, which was very challenging. And the rigging coordinator, the stunt rigging coordinator, Neil Adams, and I worked together for many years. And so Neil and I kind of came up with a system to make that work. And I just thought that it was a little bit lost in the fog, so to speak, which was actually practical fog. It was pretty cool, right, that as well.
So I'm the thing about the pig snare that I always wonder is, how many times have you set it up, checked it, set it up, checked it, and then you run it and you bonk the guy's head on something?
That's an excellent question. And unfortunately, one of the things about our job as stunt people, is that we have to mitigate those risks. And as a rigger, my job is very much to try and mitigate that risk. So there's a few things that we do to try and help our performers when we're flying the mob. In this particular case, we were very fortunate because we had a little bit of control over how we wanted to do it. So in this one, we had him fall forward so he could protect himself as he's going down. But of course, he's got the rifle and he's got all the gack and all the props and the grenades and all that kind of stuff, whatever else they had him in there, so that we can do that. So it's always a risk to be doing stunts, and especially when, exactly what you said, you rehearse it and you do it to mats, or you do it, at a maybe lower pace, or you do it without the gun or without the rifle or whatever it is. But then what ends up happening is you get, like anyone, you get amped up. So then you're walking faster as a performer. Maybe we're pulling a little bit harder. Maybe, like, there's all these kinds of things that play into it. So it's, unfortunately, most stunt people have bonked their heads probably more times than is medically allowed, unfortunately.
So there's no concussion there's concussion protocol, but not like in the NFL where you get to sit out a play.
There is not.
You're either in it or you're not in it.
That's it. No, you kind of keep going. And for most of us, I mean, I was a performer for a long time. I still get out and do a little bit of stuff every once in a while, but obviously my focus is rigging. But the amount of injuries, and a lot of them are, like, concussions are one thing, and it's definitely different now than it was, 10, 15, 20 years ago when I was first starting out. You would just walk it off, and you'd go for a drink with the boys after work, and that was kind of how you did it. Now people are a lot more aware of that, so we definitely try to mitigate that as much as we can. And there's some amazing, like, the stunt coordinators on the show were phenomenal, very seasoned professionals, and so it was great because you're working through the gag to get it to a speed at which it's still safe. So by the time you do it to camera, you've done it a bunch of times, and hopefully what to expect, so you can mitigate that. But then, I mean, I would say on any given day, stunt people are going home with twisted ankles and broken fingers and like ribs or a black eye from somebody missing a mark and that kind of stuff. So it is still a very I guess it's kind of part of the job to have a little bit of injury when it comes to
badge of honor. Badge
of
honor.
Yeah, exactly. And most of us have, I mean, I always tell the story. I ripped all the ligaments in my ankle working on a time machine that blew up, and then I fell and just missed the mat by 1 inch and rolled my ankle. So,
ouch.
So I can tell you if it's about to rain.
That's, yeah, not the job for me. Not the job for me. No.
Well, I think it's fun, and people think that stunt people are crazy, but I think that for most of us, it's more about, obviously we love the adrenaline part of it, and to get hyper focused and to be performing something that that's ultimately going to live forever. It's a very cool thing, and it's very humbling to be able to be a part of that sort of process. But most of us tend to be pretty methodical, as opposed to being crazy, like, especially now with what, people are doing on TikTok and Insta and all that stuff, where we train and then we develop the skills, and everything we do, we ramp up and we build up into it. Same with any aspect of it, whether it's riding a wire, so being part of the ball pit explosion, for example, or any of those kinds of things. Like, we have a process which we work, and then we develop those skills, and then when we have to go on the day, then hopefully we've crossed all the T's and dotted the I's.
So what's it like when you're doing so? Wyatt is the character's name. Johortiz is the actor's name. When was it he and Bob jumped into the water? Or Bob grabbed him and tossed him in the water. They did something in the water, and then there's an explosion above them. So when they're hitting the water, are we stunt doubles doing that in this particular instance, or was that those two and they jumped in the water and then everything else was post or something?
Yes. So in that particular, I wasn't there for that particular shot, because we shot a lot of that action over, I think it was 3 or 4 days. So we had multiple units going in the whole park. But one of the things to keep in mind, if we can get away without using the actors, then we don't. It's just safer, and we can repeat it more, and the actors can be taking a break or working on
Running lines.
That's right, exactly, running lines, working with main unit, whatever it is. So if we can do it that way, but ultimately, how it works for most movies is you kind of do a lead up with the actors, so you see their faces, and then you do the stunt performer parts where they slam into the water and everything goes, and then we can cut to the actors in the water or just landing from the water. So we try and do everything we can to allow the actors to not be in danger. Now, there's of course there's your Tom Cruises and stuff, and guys, like Jet Li and Tony Jaa and all these guys that are phenomenal. Jackie Chan, obviously, like all that are phenomenal stunt people in their own right. So of course they can do a lot of the work themselves, and Tom Cruise, of course, on another level when it comes to even as a stunt performer.
I think he's got a screw loose. I'm sorry, he's doing a little too much in that regard. So maybe he is the crazy.
I'm not sure that I can comment on that, Scott, because maybe one day I will get a chance to work with him. So I want to make sure that I still have that opportunity.
Right. I hope you do too. So that was me talking. That was me talking. I said that.
But ultimately, what's interesting about that, and this is how I try and explain it to people at dinner parties and stuff, is that we'll have the stunt people test the gags and do all of the stuff. And then we try and set a limit. And we say, okay, this particular stunt is safe for actors until here. And then if they want to see, the aftermath, or they want to see the person going through it, then we try and find that balance. But we definitely have a limit at which we come to, and we say, this is it. This is all the actor is getting. This is what, this is a safe speed. This is a safe amount of power. This is a safe, whatever it is, whether it's a hand pull or a ratchet or a winch or anything else that we're kind of doing. So, and a good example of that would be if you're doing a high fall, they can build us a small roof that's only 4-6 feet. And then we see the actor run off the roof and take the dive and land into some mats. And then we cut to a stunt person going down, 10 stories. And then we cut to the actor landing from a few feet on the roof of a car or whatever it is.
As opposed to the big balloon that the stunt double.
The airbag. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That was a good one. That was what was that? Kevin Hart and The Rock landing the big balloon.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move. That was a good move. I like Kevin Hart. I like The Rock. They do a good job. They make it fun. Rock's got a new movie coming out called The Smashing Machine this fall, where it looks like he is the pro wrestler that he's portraying. I mean, he really put some work in. He might actually win something for that.
Oh, great. I'll keep an eye out for it.
So we'll see. So you got anything on the rise? Are you going to be heading out here in a couple of days to go do some new adventures?
Yeah. We're very fortunate. No, not really. No, they kind of make us sign an awful lot of NDAs, and I don't think that my little small town lawyer here can handle Amazon or Netflix. But there's definitely Toronto's really, we're very fortunate. We have there's a couple series that are shooting here, that have been for a while, like the Boys and Gen V are made up here, and Reacher's done up here and that kind of stuff. So it's really exciting to be a part of some of the.
Were you part of a Reacher?
I guess I can talk about that. I got shot in the head on season 3.
Oh my!
So
that's the most recent season, right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because they're working on season 4 now.
I think Anthony Michael Hall was in there also. Was it
yes. Yeah. Actually was.
Yeah, he was the dad. He was the dad in that one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you played the guy that on the street that was the.
No, I was one of many mercenaries in this junkyard sequence that we did, and just kind of everything went crazy, and I got shot by and I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names, but with the actress who plays the law enforcement officer. I don't know if she's FBI or DEA.
Oh, right. Yeah, so, I can't remember her name either.
Yeah, I'm terrible with that. I'm probably too many concussions over the years.
Well, I haven't seen her in much to trigger my memory. Alan Richardson does a great job as Reacher, and I've read one of the Reacher books, and now that I go back and look at the new Reacher, I see more Alan than Tom as Reacher. I'm sorry, I think it's more Alan. The build, the physique, he's a giant, and then the way it's shot makes him look even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks much huger than he was when he was Thad on Blue Mountain State.
What a great show!
Incredible. That
was a hilarious show. And I think and like I haven't worked. I'm not part of the team on Reacher, so I can't. I just kind of came out for a bigger day where they have a lot of stunt people running around shooting, but. I know he's a really great guy, and he's huge. I think the show's a lot of fun. I enjoy watching it, and I get a kick out of just the dynamic and stuff. And I think he's doing a great job, like I like, like I said earlier, I think we need to just have a little bit more fun with movies. I feel like maybe, back in the days of the sort of silver screen, because now the market has changed a little bit for us, but also just in general, where with the series, like there's just so many series now, and we don't really get a chance to work on big blockbusters, like we used to. So Suicide Squad obviously was like 10 months of my life, and then shows like Shape of Water, Triple X, and Engage, or things like that, are just big feature film style movies. And now series are just done differently, so we have a lot less time to prepare, and then it's just episodic. So you have you get the script, you prep. While you're prepping episode number 2, you're already shooting episode number 1, and then that just kind of snowballs. So it's it's just a different way of working, and we've had to adjust.
The market has, yeah, I've been told that before, that the market's changed, and Russell sells here. Even Tom Cruise didn't want to do Reacher because he read the book and he didn't think that he matched. But you have a contract to do so many movies, then I guess that's what happens sometimes. I've heard that the timeline has changed on movies, where the timeline used to be longer. Now you're more compressed. Now your end results coming much faster, because it's either episodic TV, which is different than movies, because you could have, I mean, it's feasible you could have 3 or 4 different directors in episodic TV versus one guy for the whole 2.5-hour movie.
Sometimes you get a director for every single episode, a different director. So it's it can be very challenging. And from our perspective, it's very difficult as well, because with stunts, you want to take the time that it takes, but sometimes you don't get that. So we were just speaking about Reacher, but there's only so many people that can double Alan. So if your stunt double is shooting episode 1, but you want to rehearse the fight for episode 2, you have to wait until he's available again. You know what I mean? Like, or you use a second double, so you're trying to overlap some of the stuff, which is why, even on Nobody, when Neil and I worked on that, there's a lot of times when I would have a couple guys and I'd be prepping some of the stuff while Neil had a couple guys and he'd be on set doing, other stuff. And that's why having a good stunt team is crucial to making sure that everybody's safe, but you have the same consistency. And then with directors, then yes. And also some directors, because there's so many episodes and so much stuff out there, some directors aren't necessarily experienced with shooting action. So that becomes challenged in its own right when you're physically shooting. So you have to walk the balance of still accomplishing the creative vision while doing something that's safe, and that's, more importantly, repeatable, and that you can keep your performers safe and going home that night. So it's very difficult, sort of tightrope to walk.
And you've got the different personalities, the different concepts, and I mean, the Star Wars with the Mandalorian, they had different directors for every single one of those episodes almost. And even Dallas Howard did a couple of episodes, or 1 or 2 episodes, and her vision was different than somebody else's vision, and that definitely can affect, are we going to do a pig snare or the drag? Which are we going to do both? Are we going to try to do, I want to do something different? Oh, that's like your worst nightmare right there, is I want to do something different. I want to do something that's never been done before. Well, let's see, movies have been around for 200 years, and you want to do something that's never been done before?
No, it's very difficult, and sometimes it's as simple as the look, like the feeling that you get. Like, it's hard for us to sort of see it, but you have a look of like a Tarantino film is going to be very different than a Ron Howard film. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just based on the camera angles, the lighting, the way that the lighting team works, the way the camera team works, the frame rate, all these things that go into creating a certain look. Like, I know for me personally, as a fan of the work, I remember watching the Game of Thrones and the Battle of the Bastards, and they talked about they spent 55 nights or something shooting this battle, and unfortunately they wanted it dark, but you missed the battle. So again, as a fan of stunts and of various styles of fighting and stuff, and various action and all that, I was disappointed because I didn't get to enjoy all the work that all of those men and women over there did with that battle, because they wanted it shot dark. And yet look at Lord of the Rings, and that's shot dark because you have the various battles that are happening at night, and you have to find a way to light it while still making it look dark, and those are challenging, and for me, I just have to make sure I fall down on the mark and hit the ground and make it look painful, and that's about as far as I go when when they ask me to perform. So I'm not privy to those things, but yeah,
lighting is wicked important. I mean, I thought the lighting was good in Nobody too. The night stuff was night, but it wasn't pitch black night to where you can't see what's going on. And I know exactly what you're talking about because I've run into that with movies. I'm like, it's too dark, can't see. Too dark, can't see. It's not my TV. It's not the theater I'm sitting in. It's just too. They've gone across. They've jumped the shark. They've gone too far.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I think it's just it's disappointing, both as somebody that works in the industry, but that's a fan of movies and a fan of television and of action, of course. Like I want to see what they're doing. Like I want to, if I'm watching a car chase, I can watch a whole car chase from a drone shot because that's but if they keep cutting in and all you're seeing are tires spinning and that kind of stuff, then I don't get to enjoy what I know some of my colleagues are doing out there, and it's just disappointing. It's just too bad because you want to see the actors, you want to see the performance, you want to make sure you're getting something out of it. I feel the same way about the action, so I want to be able to feel like I'm there.
I want to believe that Bob Odenkirk, threw that punch or took that hit. I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I want to be able to believe that that's him. And that was the premise of Nobody. The original was that nobody thought he was anybody. And he was this wicked, cool assassin. And then Nobody 2, spoiler, the family gets involved and the family gets to show their, the wife that she's tough, and the same thing with the son. The daughter I don't remember the daughter doing anything that was really any interesting, but maybe that, I do think it kind of sets it up for a third. Like it's always it's a family thing now. We all go kick butt. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I think what's interesting, like specifically around Nobody 2, which I think is great, is that it's like Bob is amazing and he's a fantastic actor, and I've been a fan of his for a long time. And
yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but the great thing is that he doesn't, almost reluctantly, and he's so he's not fighting the way that a 25-year-old would fight. He's fighting a lot smarter, and like I said, the stunt team on this show, Greg and Kyle and everyone else, Kirk, like everybody, all the guys at E7 North, they're fantastic, and they know action, and it's great because you get the feel that he's like, I got to do this fight again. Oh my, okay. Well, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use that, because let's face it, we don't move the same way at 40 or 50 or 60 that we did when we were 20 or 25. So I personally enjoy seeing that because I can still do stuff. I'm in a lot more pain the next morning than I was when I was younger.
Right. Oh no, I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. Yeah. You do something that, yeah, I know that, unfortunately, firsthand.
Yeah. No, me too. I still love riding moto and going out and, riding jet skis or having fun or whatever. But then the next day I'll have mystery injuries that I just have no idea where they came from.
I know there's going to be a down day the next day after doing a long haul, or even driving. For me, even driving, and I drive long distance with the family. And then I'm like, what are we doing the next day? Are we driving more, or are we going to do something? Okay, we're going to do something. Okay, well, I'll be taking it a little slower because I'm the driver. And when I drive, I'm engaged. I'm watching everything. And I know when you do stunt driving, you know where you're supposed to turn, where you're supposed to brake, and all that is scripted, just like the story scripted, for the
Well,
safety of the driver and for the shot and things like that.
well, and interestingly with driving, like I think that most of us think that we're above average drivers, which is not my place to say yay or nay. But I can tell you that the difference between racing or doing, donuts in the parking lot at Walmart are that for us in our work and what we do, it's so much more important to hit every mark that you've designated. Whereas if you're in the right lane and the hero car goes by in the left lane, then you have to switch behind them. And then you're doing that. Whatever dance it is, it's the importance is to always be on your mark, and it's an incredibly stressful sort of thing. Like even on Nobody, I had to do a little bit of driving, and it was very simple driving. It was just driving in the crowd when they arrive at Plummerville, and there's extras everywhere, and they're discovering all this thing. And I was either leading the hero car or behind it. I can't remember. But the reason that we were there is because they had 300 extras or 300 background performers, and you just never know. Like somebody can think that it's safe and dash across the road, or somebody can drop something or not remember that you're there or whatever it is. So then your job becomes a lot more about making sure that your surroundings are safe and that you're always on the same mark. And then sometimes maybe the actor is in the car and they're doing dialogue and they're whatever, and they brake a little more than they should, or they accelerate faster than they should, and so you're making these decisions on the fly. And that's kind of the challenge. I know that the most dangerous stunt driving thing I ever did was on a movie where the actor crossed in front of me, and then they had to wait there, and then I pull out, and as I pull out, they turned around and ran back across the road and ran into the side of my car, and they were looking at me like, and I just said, well, I can't control them running into the side of the car, you know. That was outside of my.
That's pretty embarrassing for the actor too. Once they realized that they were past their mark and their mark was over, and they embellished it. You can't go rogue. You can't embellish when it comes to safety.
Yeah,
or you're gonna get hurt.
Well, and I think you just get like we as humans, we just get amped up when we're doing something. So it's fine. We it's our job to know how to compensate for that. And sometimes if you're doing a fight with an actor and they step in a little bit more on you than they should, then you have to know that that punch is going to come in closer than it should. So how do you get out of the way, and so on. So we kind of try and anticipate that to some extent, but like with this one, there was nothing I could do. They just walked into my car like as I was driving through. So it's it's I guess the hazards. That's why they put us in the car and not just the transport team or
not the actor driving. That would be horrible because they're what was my line? And driving too. Good Lord, that's walking and chewing gum. That's walking and chewing gum times 1,000. That's not the same, and it puts the actor in a bad position.
Oh, I'll tell you, like if I'm coordinating something, which I just finished coordinating a small project for a friend of mine, and we had to have actors kind of be in the car. And the only thing that I kept telling them every take, I'd walk over and say, hey, that was really great, whatever. The one thing is, when you stop the car, put the car in park. And honest,
it sounds so small. It sounds so small, but it's not.
It's so small because you're right. They've got their lines. They've got so much going on, and it's very difficult. It's people think it's very simple, but actors also have a tough job. So now you have an actor that's playing a police officer they have to come to, they're not driving crazy. They just pull up to a stop behind another car. They have to get out of the car. They have to draw their weapon. They have to say their line. They have to do whatever it is that they're doing. And sometimes that's simplest of things, which is to put the car in park as you come in. So, because now you're like, okay, I got to hit this. And then I'm looking over here. I got to be on this side of camera. There's going to be this, I'm going to have this reaction, so on. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I think that there's a huge amount of pressure put on performers, both actors and stunt people to do, and pertinent to what we were talking about earlier, because we have such tight timelines for turning around, for getting our days and doing so much work. You can't, people say, oh, you just shoot again. But there comes a time when we don't have the time to do that, especially if it involves stunts or resetting for special effects, to reset explosions, like all these things take time for cameras to get reset, for the lighting team to change the lighting, to adjust for, movement and all that kind of stuff. So it's sometimes not as simple as perhaps we make it out to be.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Well, Simon, I've taken a little more of your time than I promised. So I want to thank you again for coming on the channel and meet with me. I'm going to put you backstage, and I'll meet you back there in a minute, and I'm going to close this out. And this has been Simon Girard, Assistant Stunt Coordinator for Nobody 2. So if you haven't gone and seen it, go see it in theaters. It's definitely a theater movie, if at all possible. If you have the ability to go to theater, you want to see it. I had the super sound and and the explosions, the whole bit, when I saw it. So of course you should do it too. Simon, I'll see you backstage here in a second. And guys, thanks for watching. And here we go with our outro.